All right, this is Mr. Barr. This is part 2 of your Chapter 2 notes on groups. In the last video, we looked at the different groups that impact the outcome of an election for each party. So we looked at the voters that support the Democrats, the voters that support the Republicans. There are, however, lots of different groups that impact the election that sometimes support one party, sometimes support the other, or no party at all. And those are called interest groups. Let's take a look at what an interest group is and how they impact the election. Interest groups are a collection of people who share similar beliefs with respect to one or more policies of government and who organize to do something about it. So they're a group of people who share similar beliefs about a particular government policy, and then they organize to do something about it. So they might want a policy change. They might want a certain policy for ethanol, for example, here in Iowa. And they'll form a group to do something about it. What they do about it is what we'll talk about. The interest groups that are really significant for elections in our society are those that have one or more of the following characteristics. So for them to really matter, they have to have one or more of the following characteristics. First, they need to have a lot of members. The more members, the more influential you are. The NRA, for example, the National Rifle Association, is a very influential interest group. They are concentrated geographically rather than dispersed over the whole map. And they represent a major resource of investments of members, such as sugarcane growers, whose livelihoods may be tied up in the industry involved, as opposed to consumers of sugar, for whom government policy on the issue is not near as important. Okay, so they represent major resource investments of members. Members have to have major resources invested in them for them to really be effective and have an impact on our elections. Okay, they involve characteristics that give people status in society, such as race or ethnicity. They evoke feelings about a single issue that are so intense they eclipse the concerns of their members about other issues. So they focus so much on one issue, and that's it. They don't really pay attention to other ones. For example, abortion groups, Right to Life, Planned Parenthood, the pro-choice movement, Christian groups focus so much on one issue that they don't pay attention to anything else. They don't care what members think about other issues. They only care what they think about that particular issue. They're composed of people who are able to participate actively in politics. That is, people who have time and or money to spare. So the members of these groups are usually pretty active in politics, and if they're not, then the group isn't very effective. Interest groups that have these characteristics matter most in presidential elections because these characteristics are most likely to claim the loyalties of large numbers of voters and form the basis for the mobilization of their preferences and their votes. Okay, so groups that have these characteristics are more likely to get support from a large number of voters, and it forms the basis of their targets for how they get people to show up to vote and how people decide which candidate to vote for. They help people shape which candidate they're going to vote for and get them to show up to vote. 3 of the interest group characteristics that are especially important for presidential elections are membership, can help voters reach conclusions about preferences, positions on issues, and facts. If you don't know what you think about an issue, an interest group can help you find out. Activity, they are actively involved in partisan political activities, not activities. Policy, they can shape policy by making demands of candidates on issues in return for their promise of the support of the interest group. Okay. There are special interest groups. Laws have been passed and constitutional amendments proposed by public interest groups that restrict the amounts of money unions and corporations can contribute to political campaigns. A long-standing device for interest group spending is the Political Action Committee, or a PAC. A PAC is an organization devoted to the disbursement of campaign money from interest groups to candidates. So, for example, the NRA might form a PAC, a Political Action Committee, and I'm just using the NRA, by the way, because that's a very common interest group that everybody's heard of. It's not like I have some preference for the NRA necessarily. I'm just saying they're an interest group that everybody's heard of. Okay? So a Political Action Committee is a way for them to raise money and then donate it to their campaign. okay, because there's limits on what they can donate as an interest group. So a PAC is sort of a workaround or a loophole. It's not approved by the candidate. It's not part of the candidate's campaign, but they support the candidate. It's kind of a weird thing. From 1974 to 1982, the number of political action committees organized by business and unions more than quadrupled, increasing from 608 to 2,601 in just those 8 years. PACs are created to collect and disperse political contributions. There are some rules. They must contribute to more than one candidate, and the amount of money they give to any one candidate is limited. So they're capped in terms of giving to one individual candidate, and they have to contribute to more than one. The Supreme Court decided in a court case, Buckley v. Vallejo, in 1976, they would remove any contribution restrictions from PACs. So in 1976, the Supreme Court took away those contribution restrictions because money is speech. Basically, a PAC can contribute an unlimited amount of money to unspecified numbers of candidates or committees so long as no single contribution exceeds $5,000. So they could give $4,999.99 to 12 different candidates if they want, okay? And they're still completely legal. Understand what that means. It means that if you're an interest group and you donate lots of money to somebody's campaign, when they get into office, if they win, they're going to be more likely to listen to you, okay? So essentially, you're buying access. You're paying to get access to that candidate when they get into office. Once a PAC contributes to 5 or more candidates, it can make unlimited independent expenditures on behalf of candidates or parties. They can advertise, they can run print ads or electronic ads once they contribute to 5 or more. People thinking about running for president align themselves to a certain PAC as a way of developing political alliances and raising money. PACs were originally created as part of Congress's goal to limit the influence of money in politics, which is hilarious because they do the exact opposite. The irony is that interests in individuals now maintain a variety of legal organizations to deploy unlimited cash in elections, including presidential elections. These groups, called 527 groups, take advantage of loopholes in federal law, which allow unlimited individual contributions from groups not associated with a campaign. So a 527 group, you'll see on TV an ad that's against Donald Trump. Maybe it's and it'll say not paid for by Joe Biden or Joe Biden's committee. It's the One America group, paid for this ad. That's a 527. They're not in support of a candidate, so they can donate unlimited amounts of money. We'll stop there. We'll pick up with third parties in the next video.